Welcome back to Ethereal Material, where the mystical meets the practical.
We are Priscilla and Carla, two professional mediums discussing the gap between the seen and the unseen,
All topics are on the table for dissection, discussion. Today we're going to talk about automatic writing.
which is so cool. Have you ever done that?
I have done inspired writing. I never took the leap to, and I took classes on it with a very well-known angel person. Can I say the name?
Sure.
Rudy Griswold. A number of classes years ago, inspired writing, which is different.
What's the difference?
From my understanding, automatic writing, well, let me just say this. Inspired writing was where you don't feel nervous and you don't feel like something's taking you over, that it's your higher self or your angels. We were doing it directly with angels. You set your intention on who you want to do it with, and it inspires you versus automatic writing, which has a belief system of, and correct me if I'm wrong, it used to at least, where it's more a channel. Not that
Sort of
that's not a
by,
channel,
right,
but
right.
you know what I'm saying?
So I think the automatic writing is actually bypassing your conscious, like you're not
Yeah, you're
aware.
not aware at all. Then at the time, which is many years ago when I was starting my career, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go with inspired writing. Did you?
I found that more believable. So I can definitely say I have experienced inspired writing, even though I didn't sit myself down and say, now I'm going to do inspired writing. I've written a number of books, I've written a number of video courses, and there are times when there are times when it's effortless.
Right.
And we were just talking about this, I'll look back on something that I've read or recorded and go, did I write that? I'm not saying that it's necessarily so different from my own voice or so brilliant, but there's a very smooth, practiced seeming like quality stuff there that I think isn't entirely from my own cognition, because I'll look back and I'll go, wow, that really flows well together without having sat down at the beginning and saying to myself, I've got to write something that really flows together easily from this part of the topic to the next, to the next, to the next. It just sort of happens. And there are times when I sit down and nothing comes out. It's just too much work.
I think that artists have talked about this, whether sculptors, painters, as you said, authors, where you allow the inspiration to come and it kind of flows through you, not in your absolute conscious mind.
Yeah.
And I think the
It's like a flow, right?
it's a flow
Like a
where
zone.
you set yourself back a little bit from it and allow it to happen. Where the other form of writing is more like the automatic writing. Your writing can often, they say, change.
Right.
You can actually look intense, feel intense, and you're not aware of this. Your awareness is not there. And I think when I was learning, that's what I wanted to avoid. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, that's not good for me." And other people want to jump right into it. I would rather go with, let me talk to my angels or higher self or something other than take me over. And the same reason I've never wanted to do mediumship where I had it imposed upon my face where it looked different. I don't want to do that kind of mediumship. That's just me.
I had that in mediumship happen once. And I put a stop to it because it was so alarming. It was way at the beginning of my career. I was working at the New York Ren Fair. I was one of the psychics on Mystic Way.
Yeah.
And that what a great training ground that was, because you got a bunch of drunk people. They're going to pay you $20 for 15 minutes. And it was like just churning it through. So you really stop caring. You're like, which is what you need to do.
What you need to do. You have to
like,
be
I'm never going to see these people again. I'm going to say what comes to my mind. So the filter just goes away after a while. And I remember it was towards the end of the day, and this woman sat down, and I was just doing psychic stuff. I wasn't even really doing mediumship at that venue. And I felt like somebody else's somebody moved my hand and grabbed her hand on the table. And I'm holding hands with her. I'm like, I did not do that. And I said, I'm really sorry. It was so like, obviously I never met her before. She was a total stranger. And then so I kind of took my hand back and I thought, okay, I just had some tick, or some spasm. And then I'm talking to her and I'm bringing through a person who ended up having been a fiance or someone that she had planned, that she had been very close to. And she was a fairly young woman, like in her early 30s when we did this. And the next thing I knew, I was like on the ground, like 5 feet away. And I felt that the spirit who was her fiance had literally shoved me out of the chair.
How do I not know this? I'm sure years ago
And
you
I
must
was
have told me
so
this.
pissed off. I
Wow.
was like, no. And I'm just like shouting out loud to the spirit. Not, I mean, not, it was the conversation was not in my head. Let me put it this way, it was out there.
Mhm.
And I was like, back off, or I'm not going to continue with this. Like in an instant, I knew what had happened. And she's like, yeah, he was a real bully. He was real dominating. He was real domineering and controlling. And he tried to do it again. And I was like, I'm shutting you down now completely. But that
Mm.
was and I was so, I left there at the end of that day and I told the spirit people, don't ever do that again. Do not ever do that again. We can talk about it maybe sometime in the future about what it might feel like, but I would not let a physical person come and
Mhm.
push me out of a chair. I'm not going to let a spirit person do that. So, but yeah, for the
Yeah.
same reason as you,
Wow.
like, I don't want to channel. I don't want to absent myself from something my body's doing, whether it's
Mm.
writing or speaking or, anything like that. So that aspect of of automatic writing was something that, well, the whole channeling thing weirds me out anyway. I don't know how
And
you feel about that.
to clarify, in case people aren't sure, we channel anything, right? We call it channeling, but there's a difference between allowing a presence within you to speak, no way for us,
Yeah.
and us getting through our clair senses. Now, I may slip into, say, a British accent or a slang I would not
Right,
use
right.
because they're dropping it into me to do it from me.
Right.
But that's about as far as that
That's, I think,
goes.
the difference between mental mediumship and physical
Mental,
mediumship.
that's the word I'm looking for.
The
Yeah,
mental
physical
mediumship is we're
mediumship.
interpreting what is being
Yes.
given to us, and physical mediumship
That's
is
what I
it's just coming through us. So
Yeah,
the same
physical
thing with
mediumship.
writing.
So inspired writing, for those of you that are nervous, is the way to go, in
Yeah.
my opinion. And you will. So when we did it, we were like, okay, it's kind of like, what the hell, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's not a test. You're not going to fail it. You can give yourself a prompt. We did a little breathing exercise. We had a
Mhm.
blank paper in front of us. And we started out, this was angel guided. So I will say that. So we asked our angels, archangels, or holy guardian angels. I don't know which one, it was a long time ago, which ones we picked, various
Mhm.
ones. And you can ask your spirit people, but your left brain might get in the way on that because you might want to hear something from dear old dad,
Right, right. Yeah.
or, you're a spirit guide if you believe in them, or you can ask your higher self. See, I
Yeah.
tend to be more like the higher self
too.
or even God. That's what I tend to be like. And the angels are fine. Ask them what we started with. What do I need to know? That's how our prompt was for the first time. I will not forget that.
Mhm.
What is it I need to know? And as soon as you start writing, like, I need to go to the store on Friday at 3,
Right,
then
right.
that's no, just start again. And it wasn't a long time. We didn't have pages and pages. It was a paragraph or so. And what was fascinating is we did go back and we did it a number of times. And again, I took it more than one time, this
Mhm.
course with her, that you don't realize what you've written, especially the more you do it, you're like, oh, I don't remember writing that.
Really?
And some of it, because I'm so practical like you are, I was like, well, this is a little vague. I have such a high bar even for myself. I'm like, well, this is vague. I can misinterpret this. So I would go back within that and ask for clarity.
Hmm.
Can you please clarify? And I think in one of them, I asked for what my spirit guide's name was, because we did spirit guides as well as angels. So we know that I have this thing in me when I read people, I will bring through spirit people whose names are John, Mary Ann, or Anthony, or Michael, but I will not get them by name because everybody has that name. I won't do it. But I can get them. You could, as we know, you could tell me father. I could get that easier than I could if the man's name was John. I just can't do it. So I'm writing, and then I've done like a couple of paragraphs of different exercises, and I say, "What is your name?" And of course, when I looked down, what I wrote was John. I was mortified. I'm like, "Are you serious?" So I actually told the spirit guide, I said, "Well, I'm changing your name to Sebastian because I need it to be absolutely unique." And I changed it, and that was the running joke that I got John of all the names. Did you ever do that and get a name?
I haven't asked. I can't think of a time that I've set out to do inspired writing. We're going to try this by the end of our show, though. Though I often tune in, I haven't done the writing part of it. Like I will go tune in, so I get a more visual sense of if I want to answer for a question. So if you don't know, the brief history of tuning in is ignoring your five senses, and if you're visual like we are, or at least like I am, eyes closed and allowing whatever ideas pop into your mind visually or otherwise, And it's almost like the more random, the more nonsensical, the better, because for me, the key to tuning in is recognizing that what drops into your mind is so much of the time it's symbolic and it holds a lot of meanings. It's layers that you can peel back. And I just did this exercise with a client. I'm trying to think what we went through. But we were tuning in together to something. I was guiding her through this tuning in process, and she asked a question, and she said something like, "Well, I see like, oh, I know what it was. She was looking for a piece of paper, an official piece of paper, and that she had to find. She had no idea where it was. So I said, okay, you're going to go in and ask your higher mind or tune in because we our subconscious minds are like video recorders. Everything that we have ever observed or encountered is recorded somewhere, even if we don't have any memory of making the memory. And so she's like, I feel like I'm in my childhood bedroom by my stereo. Um, and then she opened her eyes. She goes, "So I guess that's not." I said, "No, no, 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 no. When the symbol comes to you, you
Yeah.
have to wait,
Yeah.
like you did. You have to go back in and say, what else, or
Right.
what is this making me feel, or what happens next?" And she goes, "I just keep looking at the album. I'm looking at this crate of albums I have, and I'm wondering where they are." And then she goes, "Oh my God, it's with my photo albums." So she had moved and she had all these photo albums and she'd stuck some of the papers in there because they weren't just photo, it was like a scrapbook of her life. So I don't remember what it was. It was a birth certificate. It was something official that she needed. And so she ended up having like glued it into like a scrapbook or taped it into a scrapbook, and she had no memory of no current recent memory because this was from like 30 years ago. And so it wasn't exactly photo albums, but that inquiry into her
Yes.
sixth sense. Now you can do that with writing, which
Do it with
I haven't
writing.
necessarily done with writing, but I'm interested because I usually have a pretty quick shorthand now with the visuals.
See, I
that
do
come.
too now. I don't, I
Yeah.
haven't done the writing in a long time because I will do. I've
Right,
just been
right.
doing this too long. But it would be interesting to try it and we'll do it here. But
Yeah.
for when you're starting out, yes, you can do it and ask for something out of yourself to come
Right.
into you. Well, I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's easier if you go with their higher consciousness,
Mhm.
an angel, if you're comfortable with that. A lot of
Mhm.
people are more comfortable with an angel guiding you. Um, you can do a spirit person or a loved one, but I really believe I don't recommend, as I said, to start there.
Yeah.
Because you're too attached to that. We
Right,
want
right.
objectivity.
Right.
And then do the writing. And if it seems like, oh, this is too general, go back and again,
Yeah.
give yourself a break. But it is amazing because what we started doing after, and then I took the second class with her, is then it was somewhat predictive. So you could actually write some minor predictions that might happen, and they weren't earth shattering because that puts
Yeah.
stress on you too.
Right, right.
I know.
Start with the low hanging fruit,
Okay,
nothing
go
with
with
a lot of
low-hanging
emotional
fruit.
weight on it.
And
Right.
also for those of you that may be concerned on negative energies and things attaching to you and you opening up a channel, I have distinct opinions on this. Let's hear yours, which I know are probably going to be like mine, but that is the question people ask. Like, am I opening them up, to something negative? Am I going to have a problem? Am I cursed now? So, how about it?
The short answer is no.
No, so this is a short answer.
There is no, I feel, I have the conviction that there is no dark force. There's no power with any volition that we might invite in unconsciously that will destroy it. I think we can have dark thoughts. And I think we as people can, because our thoughts are creative and our thoughts are things. I think if we have the expectation that someone's out to get us, or my cousin hates me, she never wants me to have babies, she's probably cursing me, so I'll never have children. And I've heard these things before, so I'm not just pulling these
Right.
ideas out of
No, that's
thin
why I
air.
smiled. I'm like, yes, we hear this.
And I think if you're, whatever we pay attention to expands. So if you pay attention to or look for those things, is it an outside force, an evil force outside of you? I don't think so. That's not my sense. Tell me what you think about this.
I think this is a topic that we aren't completely on the same page with. I was going to say agreement, but that's not really a good word, I think. I am an entertainer of where there's positive, there's negative. So Do I think that there is a lower vibrating energies? Oh, there are. I do think that's a possibility. I entertain that. I don't allow it, but I entertain it as more, again, with my father having a near-death experience, experiencing something. And so that probably influenced me when I was 19. So I do think that, but I feel if you vibrate at a certain frequency and your character and disposition is a certain frequency, you're not bringing that in. So people could do all the stuff they want to around you. And I do think people are malintent. And when they, you can feel negative energy around you.
Yeah.
So I do think that obviously exists. But if you're at this frequency, nothing here is going to get you. And even if you're dropped down and you're depressed or you're sad, I think for the most part, if you hold high, so I don't entertain it. I don't acknowledge it. It just doesn't happen. It's not my wheelhouse.
If you're uncertain about it, do anything that makes you feel protective. Light a candle, put out a crystal, even having the intention that I'm only going to receive information that is helpful. I mean, a lot of people who have had ESP experiences some of their early experiences or first experiences have been like, oh, grandma died.
Right.
And so they have a fear. But it's not all bad news.
Right. We ignore the good news. We tend to ignore
and what comes from the intuition is always neutral. It's how we perceive it that makes it either bad or good. I mean, maybe grandma's been suffering with dementia and incontinence and miserable physical conditions for 20 years, and her release from the physical bond is a blessing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that is just horrifying and unexpected and just terrible. But the facts of the information, or maybe people might question the word facts, but the information that comes to us intuitively, in my experience, and I think what distinguishes it from our emotions and our thoughts is that it's always, always, always neutral.
You feel neutral when you're giving the message.
Even if it's like, oh, he's cheating.
Yeah.
It just drops into your mind, or she's lying.
So when you're getting information, and I see, I was a little unsure where you were going, but I see if you're talking about someone getting information that's more negative.
Yes, right. Exactly.
I was unsure. I was like, I'm not following this. I got it. When that happens, and it's true psychic or dropped into you, you are neutral. You are not in trauma. It's happened countless times to me with friends dying, family members dying, or illnesses or whatever. I go, or I'm in a group. I know when I'm right because I feel neutrality, and with something I should be upset about. Like, oh, that's a terrible story. The emotion of Carla would be upset.
Right.
The emotion of Carla, the medium or the channeler, is neutral.
So whether you're nervous about opening a gateway for an external evil force when you do inspired or automatic writing, or you're nervous that what's going to come through will be bad news, do I have cancer, or is my...
I would advise not asking that,
don't really. And again, I want to come back to say, much like psychic visual impressions, or kinesthetic impressions, or even auditory impressions, they're often symbolic. They often make no sense when you're first getting them.
Right.
And they need to be dived into a little deeper.
And step away and don't put your spin on it.
I did as an example, I did a recent work with a client who was feeling, she had just discovered that a regular group that she had been, getting together with, they were former coworkers, like a group ragtag that had sort of bundled together over like 10 years, and they did things together 3 or 4 times a year. She had just discovered that these other 4 as a group went to the theater without her.
I knew that was coming.
And she felt, even though she didn't, and they knew she didn't like musical theater, she still felt like, we brought up all of these things like rejection and where's my tribe and do I belong and am I socially weird and all these sorts of things. So we did another, again, visual, because that's my jam, a visual psychic tune in. And I asked her what was coming to mind. And she said, I feel like I'm in a crowd, but a lot of people are wanting to make eye contact with me. And she's like, and I don't know why. And so she opened her eyes again, because people, they get the first impression, like, okay, I'm done. Don't go back in there. And like a therapist would, though I'm not a therapist, how does that make you feel? What's your emotional response to that impression that just came to you? And at first she was like, and then she kind of just went completely neutral, and she
Mhm.
said, I feel like no matter where I am, no matter how many people I'm around, the people I'm supposed to know, I'm going to know. We're going to see each
Mm.
other. And it ended up
I
being
see.
a very comforting answer to a troubling feeling she had. That intellectually she had talked herself out of. Well, of course, they've known themselves longer than I've been part of the group. They know I don't like this theater, but she had this feeling, and she went to we together brought her to her intuition for the truth. Because your conscious, your emotions aren't going to tell you the truth all the time. Your logical mind isn't always going to tell you the truth because it might not have access to all the facts, but your intuition is never, ever, ever going to lie to you.
And that's actually why starting this writing is better than thinking it, because you're gonna get lost in your thoughts. It's one thing if you're guiding somebody through it,
Mhm.
but by yourself, writing, because otherwise, Ray, you'll start even with like when I'm even praying. I'll pray about something and then all of a sudden I'm off tangent and praying about like 15 other
Mm.
things where I lost. That happens to me all the time. The original part that I was praying for.
So perhaps people should expect if they practice this, that you're going to have to prime the pump a little bit with some regular old conscious mind thoughts. that are gonna-
And set a timer. I forgot that. We
Oh,
did
that's a
set a
good idea.
timer when we started it. We set a timer and it was not a long amount of time. So maybe we should just do, I haven't done this in years.
I don't think I've
I
done it
And I
intentionally.
write and I do names when I read. And when I read, I write and I scribble in a book. Not as much as I used to, but a name or a picture. But I don't do this anymore. So let's do
So
that.
let's try it.
Let's
All right,
do
we're going
some
to try
old
it.
school
We should
paper.
throw what we should have. Should we focus on a question, or should we just tune in and see what our listeners might need to hear?
I think something about what our listeners might need to hear.
All right.
Someone listening. So
if you want to
let's go
join
old
us,
school with
that's
paper.
right, pen and paper. If you want to join us, now before we even go in there, I think, although I've heard teachers say that it's got to be a pen or a pencil and a pad. You have to write longhand. I find when I'm writing,
I've heard
my
that
books
too.
or video
God.
courses, I'm a very fast typer, so it's easier for me to, really zone out because I can type without looking at the keys. I can type and do other things. I learned to type like when I was in sixth grade. So if you are not so comfortable handwriting, I think it's okay to sit at a keyboard. But
Yeah, I remember being taught that too, but I can't type. I have dyslexia. I got a million things wrong with me. There's no way I'm typing anything. So for me, that would get in the way. I have to do it this way because that's going to stunt my vibe. It's going to jam my
all right,
frequency.
so why don't we all
So
start?
whatever works for you, but why don't we
Why
start?
don't we start with a pen and a piece
Yeah.
of paper? And if you want to join us, what we're going to do is we're going to we'll talk you through the first part of it, the tuning in,
How do you
whatever.
do that?
Okay, I'll do that. And then you pick up a pen, you hold it in your hand, and then we're just going to ask you to write down whatever comes into your mind. Now, don't
Let's give them a prompt.
work too hard about, writing full sentences.
Mhm.
You might get a couple of nouns in a row. You might get a couple of adjectives in a row. You might be writing down, the way that you're feeling emotionally, and then suddenly be like, dog park. Write it all down. There's nothing is off the table.
But what if we give a prompt so then they get an answer?
I thought we were going to do it kind of a general one first, like tune in for our readers who can do it
Oh,
for our
oh,
listeners.
I don't understand what you.
All right, we'll do a prompt.
No, I don't. Tell me. I don't
Well,
know
I
what
asked you,
getting.
should we do a prompt?
Don't you? Yeah, what did I say?
And you said, no, let's just do something.
I said this,
You did.
but I meant like a thing for them. What do they need to know?
Right. What do they need to know?
Yeah, that's the prompt.
That's the prompt. All right. Good. So that's what we are, in fact, on the same page. So it's not a specific question like, when is my next raise coming? But what do I need to know?
Mhm.
And are we doing this in general for our listeners, or are we doing it? Am I doing it for you? You're doing it for me? Are we doing it for each other? I mean, like, what are you and I, Carla, doing here? You can tell we haven't pre-recorded
No,
or
we don't
figured
like
out
that. We like to
anything before we-
spontaneously do whatever.
So
We're really
if
good
you
at
are
that.
listening to this or watching it, you're going to do this exercise, and the prompt is going to be, first person, what do I need to know?
And why don't we prompt for us? What do they need to know?
What
Is
do
that
they
okay?
need to know? Like, what general message can we give to our listeners?
I'm writing this down right now, and then I'll do it.
All right, so you got your pen, you got your pad. I'm going to close my eyes, but I can narrate through this, and we're just going to take like 30 seconds. We're not even going to go
Yeah.
2 minutes because we're all,
I mean, it could be like even a minute, but not longer. I don't know. Are you
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
time it? And
Just wing it.
I'll probably like get one sentence. I haven't done this in so many years.
All right, so close your eyes.
I
Pick
close
up your
your eyes.
pen.
Talk
Close your
through.
eyes. All right, now I want you to just concentrate on the inside of your eyelids right now. So I want you to ignore how your body feels, ignore the grocery list that's running in your mind. I'm telling you what not to do. But in doing that, I want you to recognize that when that squirminess, that mental or physical squirminess comes up, go back to concentrating, trying to look through your closed eyelids. And just keep all of your attention there and put your pen down on the tip of the tip of your pen down on the paper. And I'm going to ask you now to ask yourself, what do I need to know? And I want you to write down whatever either drops into your mind or seems to form itself on your eyelids. And we'll just go for about a minute. You know, the paper here. So if you feel ready, we're going to pause right now. If you want to keep going, you can pause the Spotify or the YouTube and keep going. And I'm going to ask everybody else here to take a deep breath, put your pen or pencil down, and now I was aware of what I was writing. Were you aware of what you were writing?
Yeah, not every single sentence, but the governing theme. And I even had to shift back because it was almost like being a reading. I was getting a message, and then I had
Yeah.
a physical twinge, and I was like,
Right.
oh, I have to write that. So it's good because they're new to doing this, and I haven't done this in so long. So I
Mhm.
kind of feel like I'm on that level in a sense. So some yes, some no.
And I think what was happening with me is because I'm so visual, I was writing down what I was seeing.
Okay.
And not just specifically what I was seeing, but what was behind it, what it symbolized. So what I'd like everybody out there to know from me, this is what I wrote down. Shapes are changing and masses are getting smaller. And I feel like I'm talking about health. The shapes are changing and the masses are getting smaller. And this was a visual for me. So I saw like a kidney shaped, something kind of kidney shaped turn into more circular and then shrink down. So that was very much a visual process for me and not, I wasn't inspired to write that, but I saw it and I wrote down what I saw. So obviously we're not legally or ethically allowed to give medical advice, but I want you to know if this may be connected to kidneys or it may be just something that was, whether it's like a melanoma or a mass of another sort. I mean, it was positive. It wasn't like your hoard of money getting smaller. That wasn't the sense, like something
In a
good,
way.
positive in a good way, right? So that was one of the things that I wrote down. What about you?
So do you want to go through all of yours?
Sure. The other impression I had that I wrote down was there's always music if you're listening for the harmony. So, and that was prompted by a picture of somebody playing a banjo, and I kind of went, as I usually do when I'm tuning in, and it's kind of like I see the picture and I ask and then came out, there's always music if you're listening, so look for the harmony or listen for the harmony. And then the other one that I had that I wrote down was your precious cargo, so wear your seatbelt. But I know that was not, you're going to be in an accident, wear your seatbelt. That was very, very much symbolic, but it was remember how precious you are, how physically precious you are, and take good care of yourself and do things for your own safety and well-being, which may literally be putting your seatbelt on, but it also may be exercising and practicing some self-care. So a reminder that you're precious cargo, a reminder that there is harmony out there. Just listen for that, turn your attention to that, and that shapes are changing and masses are getting smaller.
Okay, so that's interesting because mine was a theme around the same thing, which was listening. You can see it. It's all
Mhm.
scribbly, but it's listening. Listening is the key. You might be missing something, so to step back and pause. But it may be as simple as, believe it or not, I got a twinge in my right ear and it actually shot a pain in, and I don't get a lot of physical things.
Mhm.
What is this on my thing here? Hold on. Sorry, distraction, paper. Um, so it may be as simple as that. So anybody with a right ear thing, keep that in mind. So I felt at first that it was actually listening, and then it became went right to the ear. Let's see if I can read this. I have no idea of what this says. Oh, because because both of these things are getting in the way of what you're actually hearing and stopping you to be able to listen correctly. I
Mm.
can't believe you had a similar
Yeah.
thing.
You're
So
listening.
that's the governing
Right.
theme here
Mm.
is, besides the shapes and all that, is the listening, and or if you have an issue, go
Mm.
check that out. But and that might be getting in the way. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
think our
wow.
common theme here was the importance of choosing where you're going to put your attention and being sure to listen or look
Right.
for or presume well-being and goodwill out there, whether that's harmony or listening, listening at all, being open to a message like that.
Now I feel like actually listening or hearing something clear actually is going to be the epiphany that's a game changer.
Mm.
Mine felt quite big, actually,
I
in that
think
sense.
if you're, I'm going to have to try this kind of offline here, but I
Yeah,
think I would probably have slipped more into the writing automatically if I was at my keyboard instead of with a pen and a paper, and because I'm cognizant of sort of running off the page, and because I do
I
with my
had to
eyes
look.
closed.
Yeah, I looked a
Um,
little.
but I
I
think
can't read it.
also if I spent maybe like 10 or 15 minutes doing this, that I would shift awareness of my input channel from visual to something that was just sort of coming through. Because when I am writing one of my books or one of my courses, the first several minutes are tedious, like, oh, what's the adverb I need? I got to go to the thesaurus. And then something clicks, and then it's just all flow. So for me, that's a little bit of getting into the groove. So if you didn't feel like you came up with anything profound at this time, don't worry about it. Give yourself more time to work through, because I think we come into this with some expectation, what profound shit is going to drop out of me right
I
now.
should have said that. That's why when we did it, I think for like 3 minute timer when we
Mm,
first started. It was, what do I need to know? It literally could be go to the store,
mm,
declog your ear. It was not the game changing moments,
mm.
though I feel like this was a little more profound. But since I haven't done it in a long time and I read people every single day, I actually was kind of also almost channeling the way I would read. So
Yeah,
there is a difference.
yeah,
But I'm glad that we did it in real time because it's kind of a good prompt for us to try
yeah,
that again.
definitely.
Alrighty
We
then.
would love to hear your experience with either with the messages that we came through with, or your own experience here along with us, or if you do it later offline. So you can, if you're listening to us on Buzzsprout, you can leave us some fan mail, which we can't answer directly, but we love to talk about people who have left us comments. So you can email us at info@etherealmaterialpodcast dot, oh no, sorry, info@etherealmaterialpodcast.com. We are also on
It's a
Gmail,
Theorem Material Pod at gmail.com.
etherealmaterialpod@gmail.
Instagram, TikTok.
Instagram, TikTok, Spotify,
Some
YouTube.
messages, yeah, sorry, on emails, and I think it was TikTok or Instagram of people sharing stories. We did a video
Mm.
on the codes,
Oh, yeah.
and some people sent me their success stories, and we've been doing a couple videos on those, and we have some more too. So we changed the names, so don't worry. But yeah, we'd love to hear that because it inspires us to do mini videos and things like that.
Yeah, exactly right. And it gives us more ideas, and we love to share. Obviously, we're here two grounded people, a mom and a businesswoman, and a not a mom, but a businesswoman, where we have to navigate in the practical financial business worlds that we're in, and also be weird at the same time, or
Yeah,
be in the
yeah,
sixth sense a
yeah.
lot of the time.
That's
Uh,
not always
so
easy.
we love to hear stories about people who also are find a way to mainstream, to factor into their regular old, day-to-day practical everyday lives, how to allow for and make room for the sixth sense, because, you know, many people dismiss it just out of hand. You know, especially if you've got a plan and your strategic mind has this all figured out, but your intuition is going, no, don't do that. And you're like, shut up.
I did a video on that. Stop ignoring your intuition because it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
I did.
So anyway, we love that you guys tune in and watch us on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, and listen to us on Spotify and Buzzsprout. And please stay in touch, and I don't know what we'll talk about next time, but I'm sure it'll be cool. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, keep believing,
Keep questioning.
and keep in touch. Bye.